Welcome to The Art Career, a space breaking barriers by letting you sit in on candid, straightforward conversations with leading art professionals in visual arts, writing, music, theater, and film. I'm your host, Emily McElreath, and I invite you to join me for inspirational conversations with icons of our generation. We dive deep into topics like self-development, career trajectories, mental health, social justice, and the artists that have changed our lives. With each episode, our mission is to empower you, expanding your journey through the arts. Join us for new episodes every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts. The Art Career is thrilled to announce its partnership with Glimpse. Glimpse Guides are a collection of luxury guidebooks with an outstanding social mission we are proud to support. Featuring the best of hotels, restaurants, activities, and itineraries for each featured city, Glimpse Guides also include recommendations and travel tips by a curated selection of tastemakers. The most exciting part of Glimpse Guides is 100% of their profits go to Give a Glimpse, which provides funding for educational travel scholarships for underserved students. What is better than that? Glimpse believe that travel is the most important form of education, and it is their mission to send as many deserving students abroad as possible. Glimpse also offers luxury trip design services with VIP perks like early check-in, room upgrades, restaurant and spa credits, welcome gifts, and more. Glimpse has quickly become our one and only travel planner. Go check them out at glimpseguides.com and tell founder Jordan Rhodes that the Art Career Podcast sent you. Jemima Kirke is a British-American artist, actress, and director. She gained international acclaim through her role as Jessa Johansson in the 2012 HBO series Girls. She made her film debut in the 2005 indie short Smile for the Camera and her feature-length debut in Tiny Furniture as a favor for her childhood friend Lena Dunham. In 2021, Kirke appeared in the Netflix series Sex Education in the role of Hope, head mistress of Moordale Secondary School. In 2021, Kirke starred in Conversations with Friends, a series based on the book of the same name by Sally Rooney, in which she plays Melissa, an older experienced writer fascinated by a younger couple. In 2023, Kirke starred in the Apple TV series City on Fire, based on the book of the same name. Kirke majored in art as a student and received her Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting from Rhode Island School of Design in 2008. In late 2011, she held an exhibition titled A Brief History through Skylight Projects, and in late 2017 to early 2018, she had a show at Sargent's Daughters where she exhibited portrait-style paintings.
Well, I guess now I was thinking about what you said earlier about that you started doing the podcast with fine artists or strictly fine artists, and then moved on to, all kinds of creatives. Mm-hmm. And I was, I was thinking about how there's so many artists, right? Like everyone, not everyone, but there are a lot of artists, and I don't think that's wrong at all. Actually, I think obviously everyone is creative. It's why that term, I never loved that term creative, because as used as a way to describe something.
What do you say, artist?
Or someone. No, you mean as a noun? I'd say, I don't know. It depends what they are, but I'm saying like a creative as something being so creative, or they are so, they are. This is a very creative as a description, because I think that everything, you're a creative right now, right? Sure. Everything's creative. I guess the people who don't see it that way, whatever they do, are probably quite miserable. even if they're not doing art.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you see your job as is that straightforward, you know, that there's no creativity involved, you're going to feel, I think life would be pretty numbing. It's nice to hear that you, if, you know, that you appreciate, well, that you even approved of the painting and the acting, because I always think, my biggest fear when I started acting was that I'd be the actor who paints.
Yeah.
You know, like Jack Nicholson or Dennis Hopper or something. I'm not comparing myself to them as actors. I'm just saying, like, they're just like, oh, you know, they have drawing, you know,
like Howard
drawing.
Stern paints.
Yeah. I'll compare myself to Howard Stern. I'll take that one.
I'd take that one too.
I mean, if I may be so bold, but yeah, I expected someone to be like, she can paint, but her acting's horrible. Or she can act, but what's with the painting? So it's nice to hear.
I think that's a common fear of someone similar to you. You know, it's like, well, why would anyone ever accept? I'm sure if I was relevant in one industry, and then I was like, wait, but I'm also passionate about this.
Yeah, but acting and you can't go backwards from acting. Now, I say backwards, I mean, you can't really diverge from acting if you've had any success in that area and be seen as anything.
Right.
As that's going to always be the one, the way you're seen, right? That will take precedent over anything, and everything else is secondary. Usually because I think the thing that you make the most money doing is what you're known for. Yeah. And then any diversion from that is, it's a hobby.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
But it's an unusual one that those two things can't coexist. But
so rewind 2008, you graduate from RISD.
Barely, yeah. By the skin of my teeth.
I mean, like, same.
Yeah. It was, I don't know how long I was there. It felt like 10 years because I was there every summer because I had to do summer credit, you know, makeup.
But you you graduated high school saying, I want to paint.
Yeah. Well, no, I actually went to the high school I went to saying, I want to paint. The high school I went to, I chose because it, you know, had to, what do you call it? Still life drawing classes that you could do 3 times a week, you know, at 15. Naked models. It was amazing.
So,
but so I always saw my path forward as a painter. That's not to say that I wanted that. You know, that's just, I didn't know what else there was.
Yeah.
And I think that's because, you know, as a kid, my mother, you know, some people want their kids to be doctors and lawyers. My mother wants artists, right? And that is very, it was very controlling, very specific. Like, you show a proclivity towards photography, you're a photographer. I am going to get you a teacher, a private teacher.
Like more intense than 3 cameras. You to be a doctor or
why aren't you shooting? Yeah, it is know? Because it's a lifestyle, right? Yeah. You know, if I wasn't drawing, it was like I was being lazy.
Be free.
I had assignments from my mother. I had assignments to like paint her. She wanted me to copy all these Matisse paintings on these tables that she had, and that was such a good lesson, copying a painting line for line. Mm-hmm. It is an assignment at RISD, actually. You do a drawing.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
It's really hard. And you wonder if the person you're drawing ever had to copy anyone's drawing.
So what now, what do you think brought you... Sounds like you're dying. What brings you more satisfaction or release? Is it acting, or is it painting, or is it, by the way, I'm going to read that Instagram post you wrote about your son's birth.
What did I say? I don't remember.
It's so fucking beautiful.
Read it. I don't know.
So I'm like, this bitch can act, can paint, and then I'm reading this. I'm going to read it.
Okay,
and then you can answer my question about like whatever I just said.
I can't remember. But
okay, this is December 9th, 2019. My son is a Scorpio, born on November 19th at 6 p.m. We had a shitty birth. I felt bad for him ever since that day because they used a vacuum on his head. He's the most emotionally smart kid I've ever known. He explains his feelings to me every day. He also explains the world as he sees it. He told me there can be no such thing as Santa. It's not possible. But he thinks a spirit, a type of ghost that isn't scary, leaves presents for him. He told me he doesn't trust men. He told me he wishes he was a girl because everyone seems to love girls so much, and he hears all the time that girls are strong and more special than boys. This makes him feel jealous. He told me he doesn't like to lie because it makes him feel lonely. He asks me nicely if I could please toughen up and say no to him more. He likes to write poems, and he's interested in learning ceramics. I love him so much that it actually fills me with sadness, and so I try not to think about it too often. Alex wrote a song about him once, and there's this one lyric, I can put you to sleep just by reading. That really bothers him because he doesn't like, in quotes, thousands of people knowing his bedtime routine. But the truth
assuming
is...
there were thousands of people at Alex's show.
But But the truth is, it takes a lot more to get him to sleep. And, you know, this is a simple, stupid Instagram post, but
I was like, as you're reading, well, first of all, there are about 8 things I would have edited, because if I'd read it, had someone else read it out loud to me.
But you get the gist.
Yeah, I get the gist. And also I was thinking, I put all of that on, that's a lot for a caption. Wow. I mean, I really didn't edit that at all, but that's a piece of, it's funny, it's like, I mean, when, I guess as a writer, you can go back unless it's published already, and you know, even if it's published, I would want to rewrite things. Same way with paintings. When I see my paintings out in the world, I'm like, I can't fucking fix this. No. I can't fix this, and it's all wrong. And it's not. It's just, you know, that we're always changing as our perspective.
Absolutely.
And there's actually something sad about that, because there are times where I see my old work, I'm like, I wish I could do that, but a different person did that. You know, I can't do that. A
completely different person did it. And a different person wrote this. And I guess it's able to have the self-confidence to just let it be, right? Accept that.
Or I reread it and I thought it was amazing at the time.
Or you're like, I am so brilliant. I can't believe it. I interviewed Roberta Smith a few weeks ago, and she was talking about just how important it was with her audience for her writing to be accessible, right? Yeah. To not be something where you're reading. Like, I have a master's in contemporary art criticism, and I would not understand anything I was ever reading in graduate school.
You have to read it 50 times over.
Yeah, right? And Roberta it was so refreshing, because she was like, A, my grades were so horrible, I could never have gotten into graduate school. Mm-hmm. B, I have so many people reading that, why would I ever try to sound really, really smart?
Well, you know? Yeah, and that's true. I try to, when I'm writing...
It's very...
I try to write it simple, right? Yes. Because it's not... And that's a really hard thing to do. And by simple, I mean, don't try to pick the thing that's too generic. If that's what's coming, write it, you know, because otherwise there's something inauthentic about that. But also, it's like... So there's this writer, John Fonte, who's one of my favorites. And I mean, if I could ever... I want to write like that in my way, you know, but in the same way I want to paint like so many painters, but in my way. And but Bukowski was Bukowski's favorite writer, and he wrote the intro to one of his books, his most famous book, which is called Ask the Dust. And the intro said, basically, it says, I'd never seen a writer just write. I'd never seen a writer just write what happened, write what they said. It wasn't ornate, it wasn't flowery, there wasn't too descriptive.
Everything.
I walked to the store, I got a pack of cigarettes. It doesn't need to be, because I think sometimes, and I think this is in acting and this as well, and screenwriting as well, and all kinds of things, that we don't give the audience enough credit for being smart. And but the audience doesn't, unless you're watching, you know, I don't want to diss any shows, but you know, there's shows that are meant to be that way, like SVU. It's meant it serves a different purpose. Right. It's there's no subtext, right? It explains everything that's happening in the scene, and all people want to see, like let's say on the screen or in acting, is their own a sort of visual or a moment of their own experience, and see something living.
Yes.
So that really is not that hard to do, and it's the hardest thing to do. But people know how to infer. People know if written well, passing someone a cup of coffee can make you sob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to give people the liberty and chance to, right, it's almost the simpler things are written, the more freedom one has to
access. But also it's like this, there's also specificity, meaning I think when we tell a story or we do a painting or we write a song, lyrics or anything, the more specific we get about our experience, the more accessible it is to people. If you write generically, if you write a story that or even a photograph that is designed for people to access, designed for, because it covers more experiences or something, that's why a sunset, we can't experience a sunset, even writing about it, because it's become a generic symbol of beauty, right? If we get really specific about what happened, it's more accessible, I find. When I'm doing writing, if I think, oh, will people understand this? Is this too much, sort of just too specific? Then I think it's good. Yeah.
So, back to what I said before, if you were to line up all of the ways in which you express yourself through art, what is favorite the right word, or what gives you the most release as a human? And there's maybe, that there isn't an answer to that, but
there might not be. I mean, there has been before, and I go, I don't find it very easy, right, to make, I find it easy to make stuff. I don't find it easy to make stuff that's going to be seen. It does sort of block me a bit. So it is a struggle for me to make artwork, and it always has been, and yet it's the time where I'm the most focused, and the only time that I've ever lost track of time
is when you're painting
or acting, writing. But the thing I do in between those things is I collect. Okay, I love collecting right now. I've always loved collecting. I buy things on eBay or things that, or jewelry boxes. I mean, if you saw downstairs, it's starting, like, if you didn't know my age, people walking in and be like, does an 80-year-old woman live here?
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. There's just last night I ordered these iron-on transfers from the 1930s. I was just into them at the moment. And I got like a pack of them like this high. And I just went through every single one and just like gasping. They're so beautiful. But
I hope you have some shirts here.
I have tons of shirts.
Because I need
so
to
many
buy
shirts. That right now, that's a hobby. Now that is something that I like.
Yeah, I don't. So smart.
It's like it is something I'm quite embarrassed about, because it's so, and if it's easy, that's good, but it's so sort of, it's t-shirts. Maybe that's all it is. It's just because it's t-shirts, but that it's like basic, but it's fine.
Well, you're far from a basic bitch, so that you can make t-shirts and get away with it,
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of funny now that I'm thinking that. It's kind of hilarious that I'm doing that in a way. But
that's you. That's who, I don't know you personally, but from what I know of you, that's you. That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
There's not...
Yeah, I go through phases. I mean, there was a phase where I took thousands of Polaroids, when I was in my teens.
Yeah.
When I was 13, 14, 15, I got my first SX70, and now I have briefcases filled with, and I couldn't barely touch one now. Like, not, I just would get annoyed by it because they break all the time, whatever. And then, then I went through a phase of making, and I don't want to call it phase, but just period. Phases are fine. A period of making collages, and collages used to be so easy for me, and now it's I don't know what it is, but there's just too much information. Maybe my eyes become more sensitive, but now because I collect so much, it's overwhelming to make a collage out of the million catalogs I have, But then it was making little objects, that I make from jewelry and boxes and little plastic things about that big, but you know what's consistent is movies, right? That's my creative outlet. That's my real relief, and I'm not making them, right, or writing, watching them. Watching them, because watching them for me is, because I've been watching movies since I was 13 or 14, because I remember the first movie I saw that made me understand myself better and see someone or see some, when you see someone or something, be able to express something that you didn't even know you had.
It's like a birth.
Yeah, they take you beyond your own limits. And so that for me is movies, and I'll watch them with people sometimes, but I don't
like watching movies with people.
No, I don't. And also people talk, and I'm like, okay, pause. Let's talk. And I don't mind the talking. I want to pause it, And I get so much. It's such a personal thing, personal and private thing for me. Even if I hate the movie, I'm still understanding myself through watching the movie of what I believe and what I don't believe, about filmmaking or about what they're talking about.
Are you able to watch a movie as just, I guess, not an actor or filmmaker or artist? Yeah, you really think you can objectively...
Well, I only started acting when I was 25.
Like a child actor, thank God.
So I was watching movies before that. In fact, when I did Tiny Furniture, I found my notes recently from because it was the first acting I'd ever done other than Wind in the Willows in middle school. I was Mole. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so I found my notes, and it's like, it's the script, and I've squared this off, and I'll put Brando, the Men. There's like a scene in The Men, which is his first film, where he plays a war vet, and I was
so you were making
notes. I just copied different performances, or you just do that, kind of do that with a thought of a scene that I love, and
like
I'll
when
write that down.
When Lena's walking down the street and you pop out like a creep, like a real creep.
What would I have been thinking? I probably would have been doing maybe Crispin Glover.
Yeah, like totally.
just that's what I would think. I only references. I don't do that now.
No, that's
I do love watching as an actor too. I mean, when someone does a good performance, I just get so excited. I find myself standing, and I'm like 45 minutes of the way through the movie. I'm like, I need to go sit. Yeah. What has happened here? I stand, and I get this close to the screen like a 5-year-old.
Well, that's what moves you the most.
Yes, yeah.
And I think just all of these talents, outlets, however you define them, with you, it just makes you, and we've kind of like touched upon this, just a really accessible human, there were these reviews about, your role in Girls and how arrogant you were, and for me, it's always been quite the opposite with you, right? There's an accessibility that, I don't know, that not many people, forget about celebrities, not many people are willing to vulnerably put out there. And you do that.
Yeah, and you mean like as a, people do, you're talking like as a celebrity or as someone that has a someone in not necessarily the role of Jessa, right?
No, not necessarily, right?
Yeah, because people, I do. It's like sometimes I do those things on Instagram where it's like ask me anything.
Yeah.
And the amount of messages I get, it's like, how to be more confident? Someone just broke up with me. Like, how do I be like you and have, and like not give a shit? And I'm like,
you're like,
I would give a shit. That sounds awful, I hate my body. How are you so comfortable with yours? I'm like, I'm not. But I am, and I'm not. And actually, movies has helped me with it, just specifically in terms of being confident and in terms of owning something I'm not comfortable with, let's say in my body. Well, no, because I'll find a thing that it looks like, and I'm like, oh, that is okay. I feel like, if I feel like I've put on too much weight, I'll think of someone who I'll dress to it, as if it's a role, or as if it's just it's fun. It can be like a wig, when you've gained a few pounds. It's like a different dressing tool. I get it. It sucks because you have all these beautiful clothes sometimes.
But I need to interrupt for 1 second because this is a valid story.
Yeah.
I gained more weight than I ever have recently. I've started losing it, but I have to share this. So I'm one of those people where it's like I have every other issue, but body image issues. Like I've never, thankfully, struggled with an eating disorder. Quite the opposite, right? I think I look better than I actually do.
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, like I'm super curvy right now. My tits are big and my ass is big and this is really hot,
It's fun. Yeah.
And I went to my best friend's house. She came home, her mother passed away, we're packing her house up. And I said, how do I look right now? And she was like, honestly, I mean, I love you. You're beautiful, but this is the biggest you've ever been.
What?
But this is a friend that is not an asshole that I was asking her, right? Because I couldn't see myself.
Right.
And I was like, shut the fuck up, Courtney. And she's like,
you asked her, you probably had to push a little, right?
Of course I did.
Right.
You've done this. You've done this.
Of course I have.
So I pushed her and then I'm like,
I won't be offended.
And then I'm standing up, I'm like, but I look hot, right? And she's like, everything that I would say to you would say to me. But it was funny because I was like, am I that person who thinks my body looks better than it actually does? And like, what a wonderful thing that is, and how you were talking about how you can like go in and out of these women ask you questions about body and love. And it's like, you gotta
find a way to make it cool. Like everything, it's just everything that you're insecure about. You gotta find a way to commodify it and make it cool.
That's right. It's like,
but even when I gain 3 to 5 pounds or whatever, and now it's like I've gained a cool 3 to 5 pounds. Yeah. That means like I'm just like I'm just living my life. It's like, have you ever seen a friend who's gained a little weight and thought any differently of them?
Never.
Other than what's going on with them?
Never.
I'm curious. It's like, no, but with ourselves, we're like, I look vulnerable. I don't look like myself, and people are what would they fucking be saying?
Like, oh, she
thinking.
And in terms of sex appeal too, it's like I'm queer. I've been with men and women my entire life. I don't think any one of them would be like, I was like a little less or more attracted to you depending on those 10 pounds. Like it truly doesn't.
I don't think I've ever been in love with someone and even and that just made it all, whatever it was just amazing.
I thought the least attractive man in the world has been like fucking James Dean before,
right.
Yeah,
of course.
So and woman. But yeah, it's funny because I wish we could. I'm like going so off topic, but it's interesting because I
remember where we came
all
from.
These young girls could understand that.
So this is what these, and I don't mind it if this is what they want to project onto me, that I'm this sort of free-spirited, don't give a fuck, cool as hell sort of, nothing phases me type of person. If that's doing it for them, great. But then there's this idealism going on that actually exists and that I am that. I don't think anyone is that.
All the time.
I can and I can, you know what, I can pull things off maybe that they are struggling to pull off. Maybe, by, trying really hard, which is its own insecurity.
Yeah. I come across as sometimes the most confident person in the world, and I think quite the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Alone at night in bed.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. At night.
So I actually do understand what you're saying. But then there's also just, I think to be a role model for young women is it's a cool thing.
Well, I think people confuse being like cool and confident with being not nice and not kind and like not a...
And that's what I was saying.
Right. And that's what I've noticed lately about, I get sometimes questions like, is being nice just boring? Or that was one. Or I was talking to my manager recently and we were having a heated conversation about some business stuff. And I was like, listen, I'm a kind person. And there was like a chuckle. And I don't think she meant it. I think maybe it was more me just complimenting myself. But I was like, no, I am. I'm not. I might not be polite all the time, but I am considerate. I might not be, approachable or gentle all the time, but I'm generous, and kind. But those things are so important to me. Being nice and considerate and polite, and having manners. And but you can do both. You can. Feel like you own the space and be a person who's thinking about someone else, and considering someone else. But people don't know how to like marry those two qualities.
And I think people who work on figuring out how to marry those two qualities, especially, I don't want to have a huge feminist debate, but a lot of the times when it's a woman, it's hard to accept that, well, she must be a narcissist, she must be a bitch if she's standing her ground and not giving a shit what this person is saying, or not saying hello to someone on the road, well, I don't have to say hello to people all the time, I think.
Well, then people do have this, right, well, and most of the questions I get like these are from girls who are sort of women who are trying to figure out how to present themselves or how to be more comfortable in the world. And I think it's the hardest thing to do. And there's this quote by Scott Fitzgerald. I'm going to butcher it, but it's something like, the mark of intelligence in a man is the ability to hold two opposing ideas at once and still function, basically, and still exist, or basically and still like keep going, because those two, we so don't want to accept that things are this and that, and that is really, it's just so difficult because we want to understand everything that goes on in our lives and everything that's gonna happen and has happened. We need to understand it, and if it's two opposing things, it doesn't make sense, and so I think these, the people look at me and their brain explodes or something if they think I'm like a nice person because I'm a confident person.
Well, it's challenging. I mean, every therapy session I've ever been in, and there have been thousands, are,
Me too.
we touch upon the fact that well, wait, Emily, this isn't black and white here, right? Let me be comfortable in and
I want things to be black and white.
Well,
so much easier.
It's so much easier, and when you've battled, whether it's just growing up, hormones, mental illness, depression, anxiety, personality, whatever it is, you really fight for things to be black and white sometimes because it soothes you for things to be black and white. And and I think growing up, I'm a little older than you, but we're around the same age. It's like that beauty of being able to stand in the color and the gray, as we get older. I'm like, okay, those two things can exist together, and I'm not crawling out of my skin.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think everyone I think a lot of these girls that these questions I get are all about how to withstand I mean, they're all just trying to find a way to withstand discomfort and pain. And I mean that, I think part of getting older is accepting that it's there, right? It's there, and we function over it. And there is so much richness in that as an artist as well. And I am not saying that being an artist, you have to feel like shit. In fact, I'm probably one of the fewer artists I know that cannot make a thing when I'm depressed.
But that, for me, I remember raising my hand. We were reading The Raven in college. And it was like, he was so depressed. And I raised my hand. I was like, true depression, you're not writing The fucking Raven. And people disagreed with me. And I was like, when I'm depressed, right? I'm not talking about upset. I'm not talking about anxious. True depression, I do believe. No, but mania
can help you. You can write on it because you have an upswing, right?
Sure.
And then you do take that stuff.
Yes, but anyway, sorry. Back to what you're saying. I do agree with you.
Right. So what was I saying about? I can't really make anything unless I'm in some sort of neutral position of just contentedness, even for the moment. It doesn't have to last. But being all the way one thing, I guess getting older is figuring out that everything's somewhere in the middle. Everything's blurry and there's no real
you were saying answers. Existing with the pain and riding over that.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I think a lot of young people in their 20s, all trying to, because I are all trying to figure out a way to get away from it, and that if they are feeling it, it must be something that's, destroyed. And that, that makes sense. No one wants to, you have to build a callus to it. But I suppose the only way, if you fight it, if you run from it, I think someone said something like, you're not going to die from being in pain. You might die from trying not to be.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say what you resist persists.
Yeah,
and then you said a much more intelligent quote.
But I think that's what I want to say to them. I was like, listen, it's
you got to fucking go through it.
Exist with it, let things coexist. But yes, we're getting off topic because
we're not. We are and we're not. I think this is the nature of this podcast. It's having just these genuine conversations with people who make art, basically.
Yeah, I like it.
The Art Career is thrilled to announce its sponsorship from the New York Studio School for Season 4. Founded in 1964 as an intensive studio arts program with an emphasis on perception, artist learning from artists, and drawing as the most direct means of describing one's ideas or experiences, the Studio School offers an array of full-time and part-time programs that prioritize small classes and individual guidance from dedicated instructors distinguished in their fields. It is located in the heart of Greenwich Village in a National Historic Landmark building that was once home to the original Whitney Museum of American Art. The school invites you to join its free public programming, including the evening lecture series, which for more than half a century has been a cornerstone of the New York City art world and can now be experienced worldwide via live streaming. Visit nyss.org to enroll in classes, see what's on in the gallery, register for evening classes, and more. To learn more about full-time study at New York Studio School, schedule an in-person tour or a virtual meeting by emailing info@newyorkstudioschool.org. That's really all I care about. And that kind of brings me to the next thing you had said, which falling in love is a huge risk. As fun as it is, as you get older, it's something you really have to consider if you're capable of withstanding. And I read this and I was like, I've never been married. I've been close far too many times. I've been in so many relationships. I've been deeply in love a lot, you know, and they were all, I was in love, right? It wasn't a phase. It wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, you're so fucking right. As we get older, I'm like, I don't know if I have another heartbreak in me.
Right.
I really, obviously, I'd survive. I wouldn't kill myself.
Of course.
But it might ruin me.
Yeah. And I think being in love is in and of itself is heartbreaking.
Yes.
Because the threat of now you have something to lose.
And you will lose it.
And
you will.
You will.
Yes.
Everything changes. So you will so what you're in love with right now will evolve and change. And so it's a level of commitment. I mean, being with someone being in love with someone or choosing to stay with someone that I've done before, committed with my heart and soul and in every way. And you have to believe that at any moment this could go away. And you have to know that when that goes away, are you going to be okay? You know, because I think, and because if you're not, you're in a precarious situation then, because not that they are going to go away.
Do you have to be less in love to be able to be in a sustainable relationship? You know, all these questions.
Maybe I don't know. I haven't been in a relationship long enough. I mean, I've been in relationships that 7 years, 5 years.
Your longest relationship is 7 years.
7 years, but I mean, I haven't done 25.
No,
you know,
mine's 5. So you have me beat. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, things do. It doesn't, you know, monogamy does not make sense either. You know, it doesn't, and yet
we do it.
I would never want it any other way, right?
I would want it any other way. I just wouldn't be able to handle it any other way.
What? Monogamy?
Non-monogamy.
Oh, no, I couldn't.
Like, I would love, but I would love to be okay with that, but.
Oh, what, monogamy? Or non-monogamy?
No, non-monogamy.
Oh, you like monogamy.
I don't like monogamy. I'm monogamous. If I'm madly in love with someone, if I think about them having sex with someone else, it's a very hard thing for me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't really know anyone I've never met anyone who's in love. I see them on YouTube. I'm on like Instagram and stuff. These people who talk about it. I've never met anyone who's in love who would be okay with that.
Well, but you know what?
Maybe there are people who...
We sound really old right now. I'm like, these kids are.
How?
I don't know, Jemima, but they are. They're like in love with 3 different... I don't know.
Listen, I know that we are born needing connection, right? And we are born, you know, and we can get, I mean, if you're sort of well-adjusted and healthy, I suppose you can have a connection with anyone. But there's that being, particularly being romantic with someone, is something that has come to mean a security, which we all deserve, right? And want, that there's someone at the end of the day you come home to and has your back. That's it.
Yep.
Even if they're gone for 3 weeks, great, matter. Amazing. They still are there, right? Amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's in some ways it's unnatural not to want that.
I agree, and I'm sure.
But yes, I think as you get, if that's not something you can live through, people have all kinds of constructions for their relationships that they're more comfortable.
Well, and that's
with.
the thing. We're certainly, we're group. This is so much bigger than what we're talking about, and every relationship is so different. As we know.
I don't know how. I don't know what. I mean, I can't understand it any other way other than my own, I suppose.
Yeah, but none of us can, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So you've been single for how long?
What is it? 2 years.
So are you good at, like, I'm the type of person, I love being alone, and I can spend a month alone as long as I know there's someone there.
Yeah.
Right? Right. Even if it's an idea or I'm talking to someone, but this fear, I never actually had a chance to fully be alone. I'm talking like no dating, no sex, no. Yeah. That for me is a very scary thing. So I'm not talking about...
Maybe also like at our age as well. It's kind of scary, you know, to think like, am my best, like hottest years being wasted right now?
That's,
like,
but that in the past, actually, when I was over 40, it started getting better. But at the end of my 30s, I remember being like, I need to get into this committed relationship. Like, I need to try to have a baby now. I need to. And it was like this like force field of horror and everything that wasn't organic, you know? And then once I, you know.
Right, well, your whole world changes, you know? It's like you're living in someone else's life suddenly. You know, like, this is so foreign. Everything's
Am I going to be alone forever? And then it's like, well, you never have been.
Yeah.
Right? There's always, like, after every breakup, I'm like, and I will never fall in love like that again.
Right.
And I fall in love like that again, you know? And it's a different
God.
love.
You know
but
what?
Isn't that a beautiful thing about life?
Thank fucking God. Like, I mean, that there is that. I mean, if life is nothing if not surprising as fuck, shocking
I know.
and surprising and
for
shocking
better
and
or
surprising.
worse.
Yeah. That's the thrill of it. Is that, you know, even in a sort of healthy day to day where things are regular, normal, and contentedness, when there's contentedness, I mean, it's going to be, at least if I have anything to say about it, a fucking dip or a spike, you know, some kind, because I don't want. I mean, God, the thing that makes me the most scared is that I look around and I think, am I going to die with this as my memory? Like, what likes to happen? I need more than this. Like, even if I don't necessarily want things to be painful, but what's amazing is that things are so painful, and then one day they're not.
And then they're not.
It's so, like,
and then you
wild.
can't fully remember the extent of the pain.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not a mom, but all of my mom friends, like, you give birth, and in the middle of it, you're like, I'm never fucking
that's kind of a cool design, right?
And that is a beautiful, primal thing. I mean, you're talking about your son. You've given birth twice, correct?
Yeah.
And
it's crazy that I've done
it. Sucked.
It sucked. No, but in terms of being alone, I'm doing good at it. I mean, it's maybe I'm really just, I guess when things are difficult, I do start to sort of think of go into movie fantasy a little bit, and I go, okay, if this situation is too difficult right now, I'm going to watch the situation, you know, and I'm going to watch this as a mother who is, yes, an artist who is now spending the good part of her life being a stay-at-home mother. A good part meaning a couple of years, or a couple of years being a stay-at-home mother, and it's kind of, it's not what it seems like to me when I watch it. I'm like, oh, me doing it is so different than the generic image I have in my head of some stay-at-home mother with no aspiration, which
but then it's you. Well, it does. It does. But you doing it, you're like.
Yeah,
okay.
I do it in a very specific way,
sure.
And I mess up in ways that most parents wouldn't mess up, and I kill it in areas where most parents kill it. Yeah, and sometimes I do things where I'm like, was that okay? Right. That I just let my kids eat Lucky Charms all day and we watched anime all day till they were nauseous. Is that okay? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, my answer to that is if the kids are loved, the kids are all right.
Yeah, the kids are all right.
Like, let's not.
Yes.
Overthink. There's a lot of overthinking with our generation of mother, and I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah, forget
there's like
about
pictures
that.
Of my mother breastfeeding me, like with
well, it's the age of information, right? It's like we have way too much information, so there's more fear over everything.
Of course, over everything. You're so right.
Parenting in particular is it's become like a sport. You know, it's like getting better and getting better at it and better at it, as if it's a skill, which it's not, or a job, or which it's not. It's just your life. When you have kids, that's your life. You know, it's not. I try not to think of it as work, because then that would mean when they're not around, that's when my real life
Well,
is.
but that brings me to my next question that I don't even have here. I don't think I've talked about anything I have here, but has being a mom, this is a question I ask most of the women that I'm interviewing, has it, how has it affected your career?
Well, there's a lot less of a career, you know, like it's things are fewer and far between. Few and far between, because there's no such thing as balancing the kids and the work. And if you do have a balance of it, then I don't know how that's even you could go to the office every day from 9 to 5, but you're not always going to be productive when you're a parent, because when you're a parent, especially as a mother, even when the kids aren't around, it's like you don't have free time. They're still at school. They're at school. You're going to have to get them in a few hours anyway. And I have this issue being an artist and being a parent, which is how to work with time constraints. Because I like to work with nothing in front of me. You know, I don't want to have any plans.
And you have to with
children. Well, not only that, I have 45 minutes to do this. I have an hour and a half to do this. I still haven't figured it out. Right, because I need such a long runway, and it's not. I don't consider it a runway. It is all part of it, but I'm just slow. You know, I take my time with things, and I'm really curious before I'm productive, and so I need that time to think about things and be curious about what I'm doing or not what I'm doing, and go to look at a pile of magazines for a bit.
So that inevitably was a huge...
Yeah. Well, you know, I tried to do in the beginning when my daughter was a baby, she was like never seen a baby like this that just slept everywhere you put her. It was amazing. And like, maybe there is a God, because maybe God knew that we need to give this girl like the easiest baby of all time. And I was able to go to the studio and bring her and put her on the couch, and I did paint. I brought her to therapy. I brought her to fittings. I brought her to set.
She was sleeping.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But also, there's been more drive as well, you know, because I got to make money for my kids, but also if I don't do this, I'm going to drown in mumness.
Yes.
You know, I have to do this.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it is a matter of it's just a matter of the balance is having a view of myself that is, closer to whole than not, and not just doing only one thing.
No, and I think it's a really important conversation for us as women to understand, to help, the younger generation understand that, in my opinion, you can have it all, you can't have it all at one time, So right. It's this like, the biggest life lesson for sure, and the most painful, I went through 2 years of IVF with my ex-girlfriend, and we didn't get pregnant. And in the past 2 years have been happier and more successful than I could have ever imagined. And I gained so much self-esteem from my work and my career and what I do. And so I am not saying at all that makes it better, because it doesn't. The pain is still there, right?
Yeah.
What we were talking about before, right? Yeah. You exist in this pain. But I think it speaks to the fact that you are going to sacrifice a little bit, right? Like if I had a toddler right now at home, I don't know, maybe I'd be sitting here with you, but like probably
maybe not.
I don't know.
You'd
Jemima.
have to compromise something, or you wouldn't be as present,
Exactly. And my point is, like, do I think I'm going to, in some way, shape, or form, be a mother in my future? Yes, but that wasn't the time, and that had to be okay. And I think that this is I have it with a lot of my guests. It's just an important conversation to have.
Yeah, it is. And I often wonder, God, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if I would have made it without the kids, making things, or even having any sort of success, because because I don't think, I think having the kids forced me to become more careful, you know, more considerate of my day and more considerate of what I wanted. And you know, I could see myself, I was raised with sort of no real sense of like the real world, right? Right. So it's like you know, I went to a school where if you didn't do the assignment, they let you pick what assignment you did want to do. You know, there was the punishments I got were erratic and not really a thing. You know, I didn't really understand those the consequences weren't things that happened to me, you know, and if they did, I would, you know, kick and scream.
So you thought you could have it all.
Yeah. And you know, from one consequence, I'd run to another sort of situation of chaos, you know, so that consequence was long gone. But, you know, now, so I don't know what would have driven me, you know, and also, you know, being a parent has also
shaped
for me, given me also some shape actually in a way. I think in a different way. It's like I think having that kind of grounding and responsibility has made me more whole, right? As a person. I'm not saying more complete or happier. I'm saying that more balanced as a person, right? So I have to be an efficient person, not just an artist who needs to be inspired all the time and goes off their meds so that they can make something.
Right, no. You know? It's the same thing how not getting what I wanted shaped me as a person, right? It's these like huge life things that happen that round us.
I mean, if you've never been defeated, you're not going to make anything, you know.
Which I'm sure that's such a scary thing. We can stop talking about motherhood, but scary thing about having kids too, knowing that they need to be defeated in order to be like a cool person.
It sucks. Well, no, they need to be yes. You know, I know very few people, but I have met them who've like had it. Things easy their whole life, you know, then were never bullied and, you know, got every job they wanted and just breezed through things. And there's something amiss. It's like...
Well, yeah, I've certainly never... I've known them. I haven't fallen in love with them.
No, exactly. Yeah, and I can't to relate, you know, I guess I can't really... What's there to talk about? If they've had... they wouldn't understand me and I wouldn't understand them.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, yes, it's such a typical thing to say, but it builds character. Often I think, you know, when I fuck up with my kids or when I do something that's probably not something that other kids' parents do or whatever, like flash the cars on a BQE to make them laugh. You know, I'm like, which I did, man, over last summer. My daughter had it as her iPad background. Anyway.
Was she like having a bummer day?
No, we just went to get ice cream, me and the kids, and then on the way back we walk over this little bridge over the BQE and we were staring at the traffic going by, and it was so pretty. And then they were standing on either side of me, and Alex was there actually, and Alex was taking a picture of us from the back, and then I flashed the cars and my kids both looked up at me with these big smiles on their faces. But then I think, you know what, I wonder what their sort of perspective is going to be on it. Like, what is their perspective going to be on me in the future? But you know, I guess it's to be seen. The proof is in the pudding. Well, it's to be seen how this is going to affect them.
Well, as we know about the things that traumatized us, whatever they may be, it wasn't that.
No.
Right? It was far from that. It was, those are, if anything, it will be either really cool or really annoying, and neither one of those are trauma based, right?
Yeah.
So, you're doing it right as far as I'm concerned. As someone extremely passionate about mental health, seeing a therapist is essential to my quality of life. We'd like to take this moment to announce how thrilled we are to partner with the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp. If you think you might be feeling anxious, depressed, or even just overwhelmed, being alone with your thoughts can be an isolating feeling. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't even have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. It's that easy. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist. And just for the Art Career podcast listeners, we will offer 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/TAC. That's better, BETTER, help, HELP.com/TAC. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring the Art Career podcast. All right, so we can start wrapping up. I could talk to you for hours. You're so interesting to talk to. You really, really are.
We can, if you want to, if there is a topic that you want to we can talk about one last thing.
What I've always, and this isn't just like the show Girls at Large, is just your specific sex positivity. I think it's been something that has, we see a lot of it now. There was less of it
when the show came out.
Yeah. And that's something you said something about sex scenes on screen, which I always wonder so much. We don't have to talk about it, but I wonder so much what that's like, because I really think that I would be turned on every single time, But anyway, so you said ain't nothing wrong with being objectified as long as you want to be, which I loved. And then you said something in some interview about being hopeful and horny. And I just think it's a really tough world for a female to be sex positive, and it's so important for all of us. You know?
I sex is such a happy thing for me.
Yeah.
It's such a thing of joy, and such a thing I need in my life. It's the one. But yes, it's something that and all kinds. It's like there's nothing that's really off limits as long as you, in terms of sex, as long as you are. You're in love with the person, and I mean, even for 20 minutes, even for the day.
Yes.
But there is, for me, it is always romantic, and even if it's filthy,
Me too. Yes.
it is always like.
Oh, it's more romantic when
yes,
it's filthy.
absolutely. If it's not, I'm usually detached.
Yes.
If it's not filthy, or if it's not, because what happens is, for me, the thing about sex that's so important and so exciting is that people's most impulsive selves come out, and so their most most shameful sides as well, which is so cool
and what's
to see.
Hotter than shame?
So hot. It's so hot, especially shame then sort of spun into your an amazing feeling in your body. That's so cool. And that you get this like little moment, behind a closed door with someone where like nothing else exists. And this is just our time to completely be good. Like feel good and like experience each other in a way that like we can't otherwise do, and try weird things and see, and as long as you're with someone who's like, when someone's in love with you, there's nothing you could do that would turn them off.
Younger ladies, that is a fact.
Yes.
Right?
In fact, it will be all the more exciting, because it's more them, and they're giving even more to you, and then they're even more specific, and they're weirder, and they're yours, It's like, so yeah, I do. And it's something that I try to, and I don't try anymore, but when my kids were little, I made a point of talking about sex from the moment they could understand a word, so it's something they're very comfortable talking about and asking questions about. And
that's great.
It's funny, I forgot, maybe like 2 years into they didn't know where babies came from till like 3 years ago, because I forgot to mention that.
You were
part.
like, this feels so good, this and this and this.
I'm
and
like,
it's
but I always, I would preface it, of course, with like, when you're an adult, when the time is right, when it's appropriate, whatever I say. And then I go in and say, it's going to be you know, and then I do tell my daughter, I don't know really what the fuck to say to my son about it. How old is she? She's 13.
Oh, she's 13?
You know, that we, you know, she's, you know, I understand it's going to be awkward and stuff, and there's going to be moments where she thinks she doesn't know, you know, where she has no idea what's going on, and basically, I guess once you get old enough to be comfortable doing that, and you kind of get all the other sex doesn't matter. It's just a leading up point to this, right? It was like, that's why the best piece of advice my mother ever gave to me was, don't give a fuck about your virginity. Just get it over with so you can get good for the man you fall in love with.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you just got to start somewhere.
Who's orgasming the first time they have sex?
No.
Right? It's so true. What a brilliant piece of advice. I love that.
I could have used a little more guidance on who, where, what, how.
I mean, we've all made mistakes, but that's, you know, whatever. That makes the good ones that much better.
Yeah.
So I can see myself, if you'll, I eventually want to possibly in the future, you know, do a studio visit with you and talk, because I really, and I don't, you know, I'm not a bullshitter. I really enjoy your paintings.
Thank you.
A lot.
Well, I don't actually have, I haven't got a studio anymore. I just had to get rid of it.
Well, a studio visit doesn't need to be in it. You said that
before.
Yes,
and I'm but now, right now, I have never not had a studio. So I have to, right now, my studio contents are all over my basement. I have to figure out, it's a new era, right? How am I going to make art? You know, it's like you're going to make it with the materials that I have, which is a basement, a lot less space, a bed there, and a sofa there, and a table. It's going to be all very strange. I'm used to having a big open space. And I'm going to, you know, the best stuff we've made has been with parameters, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you get to that point, I hope you'll, I don't know. I see us working together in the future with your paintings, and I really, very cool when you get surprised. Again, like I was a fan of yours. I'm not one to be super impressed by celebrity at all, if not the opposite. I don't give them as much of a chance as I should.
I understand
I get
that,
angry, you know, whatever it is. But when Kate showed me your paintings, it was like, okay, right? Not that I didn't take you serious, because I did. You know, you are very fucking talented, you know, and you know this.
Thank you. And it's something that comes much more naturally to me than acting, actually. You know, acting is something I'm still working on. I'm really curious about it. I love it.
Right.
And it is something I'm fascinated by, but I'm still a little bit on the outside.
Yes.
With painting, it's not something I have to work very hard at. I do work, but it's not it's never a pain. It's a pain to clean up.
It's less effort.
It's not necessarily always a joy, but it's because it's not a hobby. It's something I have, I do.
It's important it's not always. I interviewed Carol Dunham, and he said that. He was like, don't get me, I'm not happy every time I'm in my studio. This isn't enjoyable.
No.
This is just what I have to do.
Yes.
You know?
It's just what I do, right?
Yeah.
This is how I navigate it's how I spend my time. It's how I figure out it's how I stop thinking about myself. And that's its most, and not in a meditative way. It's just where something else is more important than me.
Yes.
Right?
And those are the best moments in life.
Right.
And rare for anyone. I don't care what they say.
It's true.
What is the anthropology collaboration you're doing?
So they've selected some of my works on paper. So I have some paintings, right? I don't have nearly as many paintings as I have drawings. And I have thousands of drawings that are like this big to massive to things from pencil to like cowhide. I love drawing.
Okay.
And so, but no one ever sees them because they look so different than my paintings. And that's not something that most galleries are comfortable doing, right? They're not comfortable showing two completely different types of work. Especially when the other stuff was selling. They're not going to risk it on these drawings that no one would even know came from me. So Anthropology wanted to do a series of paintings, and I was like, listen, that could take a long time, you know, and I just didn't really have that, like, any I was proud enough of or was ready to show yet.
Sure.
But I was like, hey, want the drawings? And so I sent them a bunch of drawings. They chose there's some real curveballs in there. They chose some portraiture, like I did watercolors and stuff. But they're there, and they're about 12 to 15 pieces. There's a little drawing that's I can't believe I'm letting go of it, but it's one of my favorite drawings I've ever done. It's of Elvis Presley and Lisa Marie as a baby, and it's only about this big, and it's I did it with crayon, and I can draw Elvis from memory. Aww. And he's maybe the only one I can draw from memory now. It's, I don't know, it's just a very, it's really, it really does, for me, feel like how I feel. I'm a huge Elvis fan, and it's very hard to express to people why, and it's going to take too long to do it now. But that drawing is what I mean.
Is why.
Yes, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait. So it'll be like an online gallery type of thing where you can.
Yeah. Designing furniture is the next thing for me. Furniture, wallpaper.
Is this off the record?
Fucking paint colors. And no, you can put this.
No, you're passionate about that would be a really fun
Well, the
thing
magazines
for
I was telling you that I have are all architectural digest, right? And
I saw that in the bathroom.
Oh, well, those are just some. I have like so many.
Yeah.
But also, I love the old catalogs too, shopping catalogs, because just to look at the curtains or I love looking up photos of old hotels and stuff. If I got to, I would if I had all the money in the world, what would I do with it? Obviously, I'd give like a lot of it to charity.
Right.
But then there's something like a little about just to design the most gorgeous house in the world. Oh. And it would be huge, and the ceiling, my house is meant to be a cottage with like white walls and like a pop of color. That's what this place is meant to be. It is not. This place is decorated as if
wallpaper. Yes,
as if it's like a massive apartment in London.
That's so good.
I don't know. It is not. It's a rustic place, and rustic is my least favorite thing in the world.
Really?
I hate rustic.
No, but this is the perfect
that
juxtaposition.
Ceiling is not meant to be that color. I'm still deciding.
So you don't like
There's
the
too
ceiling?
many colors in this room. No.
What are you going to paint it black?
That's not a bad idea, actually. I never thought of that. I thought of other colors, but black is great.
That might be really cool.
No, it's
interesting.
It's just too. I love this for an upstate house. I mean, I have a fucking wood burning stove downstairs. It's gorgeous, but what I want to design is a hotel.
Yeah.
A resort.
Yeah. Well, maybe you will.
I hope so.
Maybe your next project is...
And I'll fucking hate it.
Design. You'll be like, this is awful. No one can come stay
again.
here.
Yeah, but then, no one can. It's a concept building.
Close it. This is all about me. Close the hotel.
I probably would, design a hotel that has no running, anything, no functionality, but it's great for shoot. Oh my God. Yes, I design a hotel space that's just for photo shoots. Because I also love visiting prop warehouses.
I do too.
Oh my God.
I do too.
And Miami is one of my favorite places in the world, and they have the best antiques ever, and they have great prop warehouses. I mean, you can find old 1940s martini glasses that a woman could fit in, and
I know.
Stages, you look at these old movies, I'm like, where is that now? Where is it? I want it. What they do with it? Like bulldoze it? Really? Gotta remake it.
You need like just a hotel as a playground to just design whatever you want and then have photo shoots in it.
Yeah.
Jemima, thank you so much. You're awesome. This has been painless, I hope, for you too.
Absolutely.
And enjoyable. And I look forward to continuing this relationship and talking more about your artwork.
Me too. I'm really curious to see where things go. It's at a very strange, awkward moment, and I'm excited.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Art Career. If you get value from this podcast, please consider helping me make more of these episodes by becoming an Art Career Premium member at theartcareer.supercast.com. That's theartcareer.supercast, supercast.com. And please don't forget to rate and review. Every rating counts. Thanks so much.